Hey guys, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark, and we are, of course, going to be watching Mysteries of the Internet Volume 1 by Nick Crowley. This is the last video they uploaded 2 weeks ago, though clearly they have never done a Mysteries of the Internet uh, series before, so I guess this is the very first time of them doing that. The fact that it says mysteries means I guess none of these things are going to be solved. We're not going to know what the heck's going on here. It looks like we got 4 stories just by how the video split up. Last time, obviously, we watched The Void and their first video on disturbing things around the internet. We had the airplane one where the guy jumped out without a parachute, but he had a camera on him. The second one was the call from the one lady that everybody in the grandma has actually done a video on, but The Void actually added new information to that story and said she was actually fine from that incident and lived for like another 14 years or something. So good on him and good on her for sticking out for another 14. And then the last one was the fire, which we've seen not necessarily on this channel, but it's kind of like typical to have fire in a small venue break out because of something dumb. But also, I think I'm going to do Rotten Mango. Is that what it is? Tomorrow. Because like, oh, we got to do the Void tomorrow, and then Mango was like, I can do whatever I want, so we can do Mango tomorrow. So tomorrow we have Mango, and then the day after that we'll go back to the Void, and then go back and forth between Mango and the Void, then just so we can see what they're all about tomorrow. So let's get straight into it. Again, if you have any suggestions, let me know, etc., etc. Flashing warning, we don't have any keywords here, it's just the following video contains scenes that may be upsetting and distressing. For some, viewer discretion is advised. Okay, it's just regular 720. I think it's just not 60 FPS. Not that it really matters. Girl at the door.
It's the 22nd of November, 2019.
2019? Okay, so when we mean girl, we mean like literally a child. Child with a big, beefy flashlight.
A Ring doorbell begins recording as a young girl approaches a home in the Harriet Creek Ranch neighborhood of Texas.
Why is it always Texas? Again, I live in Texas. Why is it always Texas in these videos? Yeah, that looks like a big flashlight. She looks distressed. That looks like it's made out of metal, but might not be, but it might be metal, so I feel like that's a weapon. That's not... She's not using that type of flashlight. She's using that to defend herself from something.
It's pitch black out, and the girl is seen all alone, which by itself is strange enough, but it's moments later that this footage
I feel like this face here, she looks distressed.
becomes truly concerning.
Help, please.
She doesn't see the camera. The camera, if assuming this is like a doorbell, should have a doorbell on it, but like, of course nobody's gonna hear knocking at the dead of night if they're asleep, probably. They needed to ring the doorbell here.
Please help.
She was begging for help, pounding her hand against the door, all the while continuously turning her head around, as if she was expecting someone to come up behind her. The footage then comes to an abrupt end,
The heck?
only to start again seconds later. But this entire time, no one answers that door. The wait was just too unbearable for the child, as she then took off.
Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna answer because she's not ringing the doorbell. Again, assuming they have a doorbell. Like, no one's gonna wake up from knocks. What is she saying, though?
Yelling incoherently in the street
Yeah.
before running out of view of the camera. Frustratingly, this footage was only viewed by the homeowner well after the fact, and reports seem to indicate that this was a property that they rented out rather than lived in, with it being unoccupied on that night.
So it wouldn't have mattered either way.
But after seeing the video, the homeowner immediately contacted law enforcement and shared the video online in the hopes that more information would come forward, as it seems that neither they nor the police had any idea who this child was.
Why are you using like the spookiest image out of that? Like, that's not a clear image of this child's face. Like, there's a better one, like profile or a side profile in there. You're just using this one just to be creepy.
Or why she needed help. But since these clips were first shared, These questions have still yet to be answered, at least publicly, as there have been no updates from law enforcement. Along with this, there have been no accounts from neighbors about the incident or any footage from other homes in the neighborhood, perhaps implying that this was her one and only stop of the night. It's like after this footage, this girl dropped off the face of the earth, with this entire situation being a mystery to this day, leaving us with only theories. The first and most popular theory is that this girl was an escaped victim of kidnapping, or perhaps an abusive household, and had run to the closest home to ask for help.
I mean, we really don't have any information on any of this, so of course it's just going to be all just speculation.
We've seen situations like this many times before, with the most popular example at the moment being the case of Ruby Frankie, whose son escaped their house and ran to their neighbor for help.
I'm not sure who this is. I don't know if I've even seen this video. I did notice, like, when this woman was coming in, she smiled at the officer or whatever, pulling the chair out for her.
Being the case of Ruby Frankie, whose son escaped their house.
I mean, she's being nice, right? But it just seems weird, like... It can come off as like you're not really worried about what you have done, whatever the heck it is that she did.
And ran to their neighbor for help.
Wondering if you could do 2 favors, taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
This certainly falls in line with this girl's behavior, as she was clearly scared about someone or something following her, hence why she kept looking back. And given that there have been no updates to this case, and that seemingly no one else saw her that night, it would indicate that whoever she was running from had recaptured her shortly after. And what makes this theory even more horrifying is that many online users believe that this girl isn't the only person shown in this footage.
Really? Wouldn't the guy know if someone left? Because she ran this way. I assume the camera would have picked someone up, because it's zooming in this way. The camera would have picked someone up over here walking that way after her.
Help, please.
As in the background, some can see what appears to be movement behind the bush, and potentially even a figure.
I mean,
Please
that's...
help.
I mean, you're asking for a lot to be like, oh yeah, there's someone behind that bush. You're really asking for a lot.
And this just so happens to be the direction that this girl is looking in every time she turns back, almost like she knew someone was hiding there. Which brings us to our second theory, that this entire thing was a setup. The belief here is that this girl...
I mean, that is something that comes to mind when you see these videos, like, those things do go around, alright? Like Robbery 101, person in distress shows up, knocks on the door, asks to be let in, gets let in, a bunch of people rush in, and now you're robbed, etc., etc. So that is a strategy, if you had not known of that before.
Was coerced into going up to a stranger's home to beg for help, so that when this unsuspecting homeowner would open their door, those people who made the girl do this would then rush into the home and rob the person. This could explain why she was looking at that bush so frequently, as that's where this person or these persons would have been hiding, and she was looking to them for guidance, perhaps unprepared for the homeowner not to open their door. Both of these theories are disturbing in their own right, and both clearly indicate that this girl is in need of help, regardless of what the situation is. But still, there's been no confirmation as to what ever happened to this child, even despite the public interest. One of the biggest talking points online came from some theorizing that this girl might be Serenity Denard, a
That's a good picture there.
then 9-year-old girl who had gone missing in February of 2019 from a children's facility in South Dakota, who
I mean, they
looked eerily similar to the child shown in this video.
similar, but
From a children's...
again, like the night vision, the pixelization is a bit off. Don't know the, like, camera lens on this doorbell, but here this child's face looks wider than this child. Like, her face is much thinner here horizontally than it is here, but again, that could just be because of the camera.
Facility in South Dakota, who looked eerily similar to the child shown in this video. But in my research, I was able to find a Facebook post from one of Serenity's mothers, who shared that they were in fact aware of the video, and that they had actually contacted law enforcement about it. And in her post, she claims that investigators told her that the girl had been identified at some point, and that she had lived in that neighborhood, with there being no further elaboration as to why she was asking for help.
And we're posting because for some reason my last post is only being shared as the link alone. I have gotten a lot of questions about this ring video, link below. I absolutely appreciate all that have contacted me about it. I was first told about it in on November 24th. I contacted the Pentagon County, Pennington, I don't know what it, Pennington County investigator immediately. He made contact with Texas law enforcement. They were able to identify the girl in the video and clarify it was not Serenity. This girl lives in the same neighborhood that the video was taken from. As much as I wanted it to be my own okay, she screwed up here, to be my princess / our princess, I am also glad this little gal was taken care of. Taken care of, quote unquote, she was not taken care of. Please share, as I know there are lots of questions as to it being Serenity or not. Once again, thank you all of those who are looking out for Serenity June. So she's saying they know who it is, but do we know? Because he didn't tell us who this person is. Oh, Crowley didn't
This
tell
is
us.
quite literally one of the only updates I was able to find, but unfortunately it was one that I wasn't able to confirm, and it also fails to explain what exactly happened to this girl, leaving this footage and this entire scenario as one of the many mysteries of the internet.
It just doesn't hit as hard as the other titles. Like, there's not enough words in it. Mysteries of the internet. You need more words in the title, Crowley, to make it really just hit. I need a bigger drop on the audio as well. We're getting
Throughout my
mad.
time here on YouTube, I've stumbled across some of the most frightening things on the internet, but one of the discoveries that scared me the most was my own personal information.
I got it. Too low. Put the ad here. So we basically didn't really get much out of that. Just girl knocks on door, afraid, and that's basically it. We don't even know who she is, even though the woman said that the cops had identified who this is. Crowley did not tell us who this is. I guess because that just doesn't lead anywhere to figure out who it was. So that's unfortunate. I'd assume he'll probably do a video updating on it in the future if we actually end up figuring out who this person was or is. And the ad's not really going on for that much longer. What do we have next after this? The next one is Amsterdam. Amsterdam. That's like a weird word. It's not spaced properly either. Amsterdam, like Shientz incident. See, it's not spaced here. That's weird. Because this is the word incident, but it's like touching that one. I want to say like shite incident. So shite incident. Ringweg A10. Whatever those words are all supposed to mean.
It started with a police chase. An officer parked alongside a highway in North Amsterdam had witnessed a black Mercedes speeding down the road and was now desperately trying to keep up with it. But the effort was to no avail, as the Mercedes would soon disappear from the officer's view. And when it would come back into view minutes later, it wasn't moving. It was instead left abandoned on the side of the road, the driver's side door hanging wide open, and the driver himself being nowhere to be seen, leaving that officer alone with the suspect's car, but no suspect. However, the vehicle hadn't been left entirely empty, as in the driver's rush to flee the scene, he had accidentally left his cell phone behind, and so the contents of this phone would be searched, which quickly led to the discovery of this driver's identity. But for investigators, there was a far more pressing finding on that device. A finding in the form of a minute-long video stored on the man's camera roll that indicated
What is it? He was recording as he was running in the car, or running away in the car?
that this driver may have been involved in a crime far worse than just speeding. The footage was taken inside a different vehicle and showed an unseen driver holding up his cell phone alongside another man in the passenger seat. The camera was focused on a car in front of them, with both men seeming intent on catching up with it.
Why are like cameras so bad? What year is this? Because we have all these fancy million megapixel cameras and we still have like such terrible footage.
As in the moments before this recording started, something had happened between them, which the men inside this car felt they had to get revenge for.
Before us, they just made a brutality with us. I mean, poor translation, I guess, but these men before us have just committed an act of brutality. They're going for it, buddy.
They
They're
refer to
going for it.
this unseen incident as an act of brutality by a group of men in this other vehicle.
I mean, that feels like gang language. Like they've committed something against us, and then we must do something to them.
By the looks of it, it's likely that this car had simply cut them off, as there was a
Oh, really?
freshly closed lane in the stretch of road at the time, which created an unexpected merge.
That's it?
And this is most likely what this group inside this separate car thought too,
Like, never mind on like the gang stuff.
as they were showing no signs of road rage,
If it's literally just that.
and were instead just casually driving with the flow of traffic. However, it's clear that the men behind the camera felt differently, as in their minds, what this other driver had done to them was so awful that it was worthy of only one punishment: death.
Yeah, I mean, due to the circumstances, we're going to have to shoot their car. They have to pay, right? What do you have the camera going down like this? They're not going to block us because we're going to get them. They just did something brutal to us. I want to go shoot them. Look.
And so, this duo inched their vehicle closer and closer to this anonymous car, while
Okay,
continuing
they're
their
gonna
rambling about
overtake
this
them and then I guess do a drive-by.
act of brutality. And when they finally positioned themselves next to the vehicle,
You actually gonna... Okay, yeah.
the man in the passenger seat brandished a pistol and pointed it directly at the driver of this vehicle. The footage from here is incredibly shaky, and the window had been rolled down, causing the audio to peak and become distorted and indecipherable.
They shot once, but they hit the tire.
Because of this, it's hard to say for sure what happens next, but it appears that the man holding the gun attempts to fire the weapon before
Yeah, he
pulling it back
doesn't.
into the car, cocking the revolver once more, and firing again.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually shot them. It looks like at this angle he shot the tire. It was like a flash, but it looked like it like pinged off the tire. I'm not sure. That bright light might have just been the light of the car. The headlights coming into focus for a second. But we can't actually hear any
To which
gunshots.
both men erupt with laughter and begin celebrating, before the recording stops. Based on the footage, it's unclear what happened to the driver of this vehicle or the other occupants, and finding this information became priority 1 for law enforcement. In their research, they determined that this video was shot on May 12, 2014.
I mean, trash camera, I guess, is why, but 2014, we should have been climbing the ladder at that point with cameras, but I guess not.
At around 9:40 p.m., one full month before they had stumbled upon it, and it had been taken on the A1 highway near entrance 2101. And yet, when they checked their files to match this information with any of their cases, they realized that there was no record of this incident. This crime had never so much as been reported.
I mean, unless Crowley removed the audio, we didn't hear a gunshot. I don't care how windy it is, you would have heard the gunshot. We didn't hear any. And he was making it seem like they shot at least 2 bullets, which I didn't hear either.
Despite it seeming to depict a shooting in the middle of a busy highway. To make my
Again, roll me back to what we're at 10:35.
happened to the driver of this vehicle or the other occupants, and finding this information became priority 1 for law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, we probably have to go back even further than this. So, like, the actual video proper. There.
To the vehicle. The man in the passenger seat brandished a pistol
Yeah.
and pointed it directly at the driver of this vehicle.
We know that.
The footage from here is incredibly shaky, and the window had been rolled down, causing the audio to peak and become distorted and indecipherable.
Yeah.
Because of this,
See,
it's
like, it's... There's no sound, not even like remotely. You can still hear them talking, so there's no remotely any sound of the gun going off in either situation. And like I was saying with the muzzle flash here at the beginning, right at the beginning, like here, see that bright light that happens when he dips the gun down is just, I think, the headlights coming into view behind or underneath the gun slash his hand. It's not like the muzzle flash. So there's no muzzle flash in either sides, assuming there would be. And I don't know, this looks like a revolver. So I don't know if revolvers have muzzle flash or not, but there's no muzzle flash, there's no sound of the gun being fired. There's no glass that we can see being broken, assuming this person's window is rolled down when we are hit here.
And the window had been rolled down, causing the audio to peak and become distorted and indecipherable.
Like their video, I mean their window's rolled down, but we don't know if the other guy's, the victim's window is rolled. It looks like it's up. Yeah, like the window is up, and once he takes his hand away, the window isn't shattered. Pretty sure a bullet into the window would have shattered it, and I don't think he would have missed any of that. It looked like it was perfectly aimed to the window, like no trajectory would have been different. It's just, the trajectory would have been just hit the window. And it didn't shatter. The headlight was fine from that angle, but I thought it hit the tire anyways if it would have been shot. So yeah, I don't think anything happened here. Because again, no sound, no muzzle flash, no broken window, etc., etc. It's like, almost seems like these guys were just goofing and trying to be like, try to act like they were, excuse the French as they say, like badasses. But like they didn't actually do anything. In my opinion, like nothing happened in this video. Unless they're going to say otherwise, but I feel like nothing happened here.
To depict a shooting in the middle of a busy highway. To make matters more confusing, police were able to track down the men who took this video and carried out the actual attack, and yet neither of them claimed to know what happened to the people that they shot at, and both refused to elaborate any further, leaving investigators in a strange position. They had undeniable proof of a crime, one that at the very least was attempted murder, and they also had their suspects. They just didn't have any victims. And so they studied the footage even more, which is when they made a disturbing revelation about these victims.
What?
Throughout the video, the perpetrators refer to the people within this car as a group of men. And while the footage we have today has the occupants' faces blurred, they were able to conclude that the driver was in fact a man. However, they discovered that the passenger next to him is clearly a woman wearing a headscarf.
Her?
And most shocking of all, in the back seat was what
I'm guessing he's going to say a child.
appeared to be a child, meaning that they had been shooting at what, in all likelihood, was a family.
Yeah, the fact that it's blurred maybe is why we can't see anything, but again, like no flash, no sound, no impact.
Police released this video to the public later that year under the name Amsterdam Schiet Incident Ringweg A10, or Amsterdam Shooting Incident on Ring Road A10, where they revealed this footage but disguised the voices and faces of the perpetrators for unknown reasons. And in releasing this, they asked the public to come forward with any information that could help identify this family.
Okay, so maybe the police themselves screwed up the audio to the point of not being able to hear the gunfire.
They asked for witnesses on the scene, car repair shops that may have fixed a car with bullet holes, any hospitals that had shooting victims on or around that day, and most importantly, they asked for the family inside this car to come forward, as without their testimony, convicting these men was nearly impossible, as it wasn't fully clear what crime they'd even committed. That was 11 years ago, and to this day, no one has come forward, leaving us with only theories. The first theory is that the people shot at in this footage may have been undocumented immigrants, or perhaps one of them had a warrant out for their arrest.
Okay, didn't even cross my mind that it was just that kind of situation.
Meaning that if they were to report this crime, or if they were to have gone to the hospital with a bullet wound, then police would have certainly got involved, and in turn they would have gotten in trouble as well, essentially forcing them to stay quiet as saying anything would put their freedom in jeopardy. Another theory is that the shots may have simply missed the vehicle, and the driver decided not to report it, with some believing that this whole situation was no big deal. But to me, this doesn't seem like something that would be so easily brushed off, especially because a child is involved, though it is possible that perhaps this family was afraid to report the crime, as they clearly knew how dangerous these men were, and feared that reporting this crime would only further put a target on their backs.
Again, I don't even think they got shot at to begin with. I don't think anything got discharged out of that gun.
And finally, there's the theory that this weapon never fired at all.
Thank you.
This is where the audio peaking becomes a major factor, as it's extremely difficult to make out the sound of gunshots, as the gun was literally outside of the vehicle when it was seemingly being fired. But it is worth noting that investigators working the case seemed confident that the weapon fired at least once, and I also personally hear a distinct popping sound at the end.
Okay, show me that. What are you talking about? Show me that part. The slight thud?
Hear a distinct popping sound at the end.
I'm guessing it just means that thud, because I don't hear a pop. There's
Only hear a distinct popping
there's
sound
a thud
at the
in there.
end.
Like that, like, not like it's there, but like, I'm hearing something, but what that sounds like is the handle of the gun hitting the door, because they're going fast and they're on the highway, and his hand is jostling around, and it sounds like it's slamming against the door. Like,
Hear a
just look at his
distinct popping
hand
sound at the end.
when you hear the sounds. It does go like downwards. Like, sure, that could have been them shooting, but at that angle, it would have hit the ground. Not even anywhere close to the car. So sure, we can go with it shot off there, but then it hit nothing. It just hit off the ground. But I'm going with it. They just slammed the handle against the door there. Either way, it doesn't matter, because the bullet didn't hit anything at that angle.
But it's hard to say for sure. And it also is possible that this group was using blanks, with this all being an attempt to trick the other driver into thinking that he was in danger. But even with these theories, we still have no idea the fate that befell this family, and it's clear that they have no desire to come forward, for reasons we just don't know. Which leaves the Amsterdam shooting video, an internet mystery that may never be solved.
Sure. You're not gonna say you're ever gonna find the guy who was in the driver's seat, though? You found his buddy, right, with the gun, but you didn't find the guy who was driving? We're not gonna talk about him? No Rom is this next one. Why are we using It's a Fine Day again? Why does horror stuff love this song so much? It's a fine day, it's a whatever day? I forgot what the song's called specifically, but we heard it in a Masquerade video, right? It's a fine day. Now we're hearing it again in this No Rom video, whatever the heck this is going to be. Though again, I said is it that? I might just be confusing with a different song, but the song that plays in the animated short videos for the SCP, this one SCP channel. I don't know if it's SCP channel, but they made a kind of like cartoon animation for SCP about this guy who can't die, and like every time he dies, he just like manifests back into reality again. And so like one of the things that they test him on, like he's a D class, if you know how SCP works, he's a D class. It's like this plant, the song that turns everything to vegetation, and they end up turning him into vegetation with it, I think. But he's fine. 'Cause, I mean, again, like if he like dies, he just comes back. And I'm pretty sure the song is A Fine Day that's being played from that episode. So like, why does horror love It's a Fine Day? So let me look that song up to make sure like what the name of it is. Yeah, it's just called It's a Fine Day. That might be confusing the Masquerade video, but I'm pretty sure he used It's a Fine Day. Now we're using It's a Fine Day here. Let me just roll back so you can hear it yourself. And then I'm pretty sure that SCP animated cartoon also used It's a Fine Day. But you can't hold me to that one. It's been a long time since I've seen that cartoon. Let me just go back. Like, listen carefully because it's like really muffled here. He has it really muffled. Okay, so we couldn't hear too much.
Urgent, I need help, please. We are from BSAS West Zone, Castelar, San Juan neighborhood. Her name is Emma Rosario Culk, who's been missing since Friday, June 12th. If you saw her, please call. Any information will be appreciated.
Why is Crowley's voice so muffled here?
This post was made to the subreddit r/Argentina on June 16th, 2020 by a user named u/NaramNaram, who asked for the public's help in finding a missing woman named Emma Culk. And in the comments, he would offer more context, saying, "She went out to buy something and never came back. She was last seen here in the neighborhood. Sanchez and Pavan is the area where she went to buy something. She was dressed in the clothes that she's seen in the photo. She was carrying her wallet with her ID and a cell phone."
We're just gonna skip over the fact that it uses "It's a Fine Day" as like backdrop for the beginning of this, and it's probably not gonna come into play ever. I guess "It's a Fine Day" is just a horror staple for music now at this point. People just love using that song. That's its legacy now.
The post was inundated with concerned citizens wanting to help in the matter, with the gravity of the situation being made even greater, as earlier that day, Naram had made a similar post, which revealed that Emma Culk was actually his mother. This revelation only made the post more important, as people left comments offering support and encouragement, with many even providing advice on how he could potentially track her down, to which Naram seemed genuinely grateful. Across the entire internet, this seems to be the first post ever made on Emma's disappearance, but it would be far from the last, as people spread this information far and wide almost immediately after Naram's post, which was also followed by several local news reports, which proved that Emma was in fact a real person and was in fact missing, with these articles mentioning something that her son had not, that she was feared to have been taken.
Kidnapped for some reason, but why would that be?
The only thing we know for sure is that she went into her house, left her bike, and for some reason went out but did not come back in. Apparently, she did not leave on purpose, and that is what worries us the most.
What kind of bike? Are we talking about a bicycle or a motorcycle?
Things were clearly very concerning, and the tension of the situation only increased as a day passed. And then too, with Naram vowing to keep everyone updated on the status of the search. And sure enough, right after this update,
I guess I'll read this. Urgent, blah blah blah. I'm guessing this is the update. This is also 5 years ago, so 2020. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for helping me spread the word about what happened. I was able to log into my Google and Facebook accounts, and together with the police, we were able to make several inquiries and summon many people to testify. Over the last few hours, we've been searching all the hospitals in the western area, covering everything with paperwork. And we've searched all the security cameras in the houses in the area to see if we can find her. So far, there's no news of my mom, but we were able to discover that she had another job, and we're trying to contact her employer to see if they have any news. Thank you all very much for your support, and I'll be keeping you updated on what happens every day.
Naram's missing mother would finally be found.
Excuse me?
The worst news, Emma Rosario Culk was murdered. She had been missing since June 12th. Her son killed her with stab wounds and then buried her in the backyard of his house. He was arrested. Rest in peace, Emma.
Isn't the son who was the one who posted this in the first place? Okay, where is this going to go? Because this is a mystery, which means we don't know what actually happened. So this must not be real. Must not be what actually happened.
Emma Culk had been found dead, murdered, and buried in her own backyard, with the perpetrator allegedly being her own son.
Yeah, it made sense for the fact they didn't know where she went if she never left the house. I was thinking, like, if she never left the house, where the heck would she be? But I guess, like, murdered and buried in the backyard is where that would be.
Daniel Culk, who had confessed to stabbing her once in the chest and then twice in the head before burying her body in the backyard, with a motive never being given. The ending to Emma's search was disturbing, but perhaps the most shocking part was the revelation that she was killed by her own son, 20-year-old Daniel Culk, which immediately called into question Naram's Reddit post, as he had claimed to be Emma's son, leading many to wonder, was Naram the killer? And so, desperate for clarification, someone commented, "By any chance, are you 20 years old?" To which Naram actually responded, writing simply, 25, before eventually leaving the following explanation. Apparently, it was my brother. That's what the police said when they declared the crime. This would mean that when Naram had been making these pleas to find his mother, in reality not only was she already dead, but she had been killed by his own brother and buried in their backyard. It's one of the most chilling things I've ever come across on Reddit, but the intrigue of this case doesn't exactly end here.
I was gonna say, like, where's the twist?
As there was something about Naram's story that wasn't quite adding up. Just days before the disappearance of his mother, he had left a comment on an unrelated post saying, "When I was 8 years old, I wanted to ride a bicycle without hands, according to me because it was easy. I was on the street, dirt, and I let go of the handlebars, and here I am at 19 years old, with the handlebars marked on my abdomen." In his own words, Naram wasn't 25, but instead 19 years old, and potentially 20 years old by the time his mother was found, which put him at the exact age range as Daniel Kolk. This prompted a wave of speculation and confusion and spawned the enduring mystery: who exactly is Naram? While making things even stranger, digging deeper into his posting history, you can find another comment where he claims to have been working the same job for 6 years.
Hello, people. I've been working with 5 people for 6 years now. Our boss retired and a new boss came. Today was his first day. The guy is the worst scum there ever was. We plan to make him leave to another branch, as the guy is new to this. He doesn't know anything about the place. He doesn't know the work that needs to be done, and he doesn't know how to handle himself. We were planning to take the machines out of service. I'm a mechanic, so I can easily get my hands on it, and when it's convenient, get it working again, and so on. Any advice or suggestions on what we can do to drive him crazy?
Which seemed to contradict the idea of him being 20, thus prompting even more confusion, which eventually caught Naram's attention, who responded by stating, "I didn't write that. It must have been my brother. I don't use this social network. I only used it twice for a work issue and now because my mother disappeared. This account is not mine." This recounting of events made Naram's initial story even more twisted, as if this was true, then not only was it his own brother that killed the mother he was looking for, but he was literally using that same brother's account. And again, this gets stranger.
How?
Around the same time, Naram would thank the internet for its help on the case, and then proceed to swiftly disappear, leaving the account untouched for over 2 years. But this silence would be broken in 2022 when they suddenly returned, with their posts being slightly unhinged.
Last one says, I'm famous dad.
2022 when they suddenly returned,
I'm going to eat your mom at any moment.
with their posts being slightly unhinged, gloating about their
I'm worried that you're such an idiot that instead of asking, you accept everything Dross says. A poor wretch who lies to get views. You're using the word wretch in the year 20 whatever, like really? Well, this is a 1 year ago, so assuming this is like actually current. That's 2024. Using wretch in the year 2024. That's weird. But I'm more worried that you think I appeared after a year when what you said was more than 2 years ago. So not even your notion of time is right. And what absolutely worries me is that I'm going to be your stepfather on top of that.
internet status and bizarrely lashing out at random users who
Oh my god. So he's lashing out at random people. Like, let's just hear what Crowley is saying.
be broken in 2022 when they suddenly returned, with their posts being slightly unhinged, gloating about their internet status and bizarrely lashing out at random users who question
Who questions something. Let's read this one. Yes. The one who lacks reading comprehension is clearly you, and education too. If not reread the conversation, precisely what I wanted to convey to you is that maybe tomorrow your best friend suffers from some disorder, some psychological problem, or simply goes crazy. Kill someone, you don't know it, he's still your best friend. Then 2 weeks later you find out your friend goes to jail and stupid people like you are going to ask you, what were you doing hanging out around with murderers? I repeat, it's not my fault, I didn't know, nor am I sincerely interested in what people think about the subject. That's why I have the audacity to appear, make jokes, and respond to fools like you when I have free time. I did nothing wrong, it doesn't matter, but if I have to give you an explanation like that, it loses the grace. I hope that one day you activate your brain I don't want to use the belt to activate it. Let's be a happy family, no period at the end. The one who lacks reading comprehension is clearly you. People love throwing the reading comprehension insults at people nowadays. It's just like, if you don't have a thing to say, well, you have no reading comprehension, etc., etc., something like that. Any kind of phrase that sounds like that. Though, he's not wrong. We could use like Invincible. I've talked about Invincible, the animated series before, the superhero series, ultra-violent series. Like as a joke. Because I said, the son who was treated as like Satan himself in the Void video, was that a Void video? The Reddit video? I said he had gotten the Alan treatment from Invincible, because they're just going to leave him dead, and if he comes out alive, then he comes out alive. But here, we kind of have like a Debbie situation where it's like, how could you have not known this about your husband? You were with him for so long, and you didn't know. So he's spouting the same thing. Like people want to blame the people closest to the people who did something wrong, but it's not necessarily their job to know everything about somebody, to like be a detective and figure out that they're whoever it is close to them is going to do something bad, or know that they're capable of doing something bad, because sometimes people just snap out of nowhere and they do something bad. It's not the people around them's fault, it's the person who did it's fault.
Questioned him on his past and present motives, and in these ramblings he would drop the bombshell that he wasn't actually Emma's son. He now
I'm actually brother's best friend.
claimed to be Daniel's best friend, writing that he allowed Daniel to make the post on his account to spread the news about his mother's disappearance, which he was completely unaware that Daniel himself had caused. This was the last real update in this case, and it only threw more fuel on the fire of this mystery, with people wondering what version of events, if any, were true. When I hear about this case today, many seem to believe that the entire time Naram was actually Daniel Kolk, and he had made this post to make it seem like he was searching for his mother, and perhaps to even use any given advice to help conceal what he did. As remember, many were offering suggestions on how to find her, which Daniel in turn could have used to essentially do the exact opposite.
Sure.
To help make sure that she was never found. This is tricky because the account posted briefly after Daniel was supposedly arrested. However, the status of this case is entirely unknown to this day, as there have been no updates as to whether or not Daniel was actually charged, with some choosing to believe that this was him the entire time, and perhaps he was even held in prison for a few years before being released, thus explaining his 2-year absence. Another theory is that Naram was initially telling the truth, and that he was Daniel's brother, and that he was simply using the account to spread word of his mother's disappearance, before eventually abandoning it. And perhaps the most recent posting on this account was because it may have been hacked, which would explain the massive tone shift. Or maybe it's the most recent version of events that's the right one, and that this is actually Daniel's best friend. But why initially lie? And how do you explain the apparent inconsistencies in his age that
Well, I mean, I don't know, but people will like refer to themselves as brothers, even though they're not like blood related. And you can see someone else's mom as your mom. I feel like that's just a cultural thing. We're going the cultural thing where I feel like that is super in the wheelhouse of the culture that we're in right now. We're seeing other people as your brother and possibly other moms as your mom. So that's completely okay.
that are found throughout his posts. This entire internet mystery is one of the messiest I've ever come across, and nothing seems to make any sense, with the most inexplicable part being the very real murder at its core. A mother who was killed by her own son for no apparent reason, and given the lack of updates, it's hard to know if justice was ever served.
And we got Angeline Pete's final Facebook post. This is the final mystery of this video as well.
It took several months for Angeline Pete's family to report her as missing. She had a long history of leaving home for extended periods of time, running off to join the circus and hitchhiking rides all across the Vancouver area, before eventually returning home to her normal life.
Okay, so we're in Canada.
But this time it felt different. None of her friends or family had heard from her since May of 2011, and it was now nearing the end of summer. This was especially odd considering that Angeline was known to be constantly texting, as well as updating her Facebook profile, with that profile now sitting completely dormant. But within that page filled with your typical selfies and normal life updates, there was one post that stood out, the final post she ever made.
Okay, it's not like a post, it's a picture. I can say that's a peace, throwing up a peace sign, showing her gums for some reason.
This photo was posted without context on May 20th, 2011, a day that just so happened to be the very last time that the vast majority of Angeline's friends and family members had heard from her. And when looking into the context of this image, her disappearance only becomes more concerning. That night, Angeline had been drinking with her fiancé Robert Calden.
This looks like a grown man, and I was under the impression that this woman was a child, question mark. I mean, you know, like not a child, but like a teenager. Child to me, I think I would say. So again, she looks young in the face, so I was assuming was like a teenager, but this guy looks like a man.
In downtown Vancouver, and while the two were waiting to catch a ferry back home, something had sparked an argument, which eventually led to a full-on physical altercation. This fight caused such a stir that eventually police would arrive on the scene, where they noted that Angeline's lip had been busted, leading to them placing Robert under arrest.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell if anything was wrong with the lip or not.
Though in the end, no charges would ever be filed, as Angeline refused to give officers a statement and instead insisted on just going home, which led to the whole thing seemingly being dropped. It was directly after this that Angeline would post this photo to her Facebook account.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell if she's like purposely trying to pull her lips back so you can see them. I mean, they just look big. Like you can't really tell like what's going on here. Is that supposed to be the damage, just the entire thing? Like, again, I couldn't tell if this is just like a peace sign, as in like, I'm out, this is my last post, bye, forever, or if it's just to show this. I mean, I noticed this earlier, we saw it earlier, there's a car here and the license plate, I believe. Unless I'm just crazy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the headlights and then the license plate there. We don't really have much information other than that. Hard to tell what's going on over here. I don't know, but we just have a car here, the lips, and the two fingers being used, though I feel like you would use two fingers to like show your bottom lip.
Without any sort of context, before proceeding to disappear into thin air. Her motivation for doing this isn't 100% known, but one could assume that she was trying to make a record of this attack, perhaps in case something were to happen to her. The timing of this is more than a little suspicious, and paints a horrifying picture of the potential fate of Angeline. That she had been murdered by Robert Calden as a result of their fight on the 20th of May.
Sure, I mean that's Occam's razor. Like the simplest answer is what we're going with this first one. It's just he did it.
It's a case that seems as straightforward as it is disturbing, but that's only on the surface, as there was another factor at play here, as when the police stopped this couple.
Want me back?
But that's only on the surface, as there was
information on the whereabouts of Angeline Pete, December 5th, 1982. Guessing that's her birthday. So she's actually pretty old, and she was born 82. Again, she looked way younger than that. Blah, 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 blah. Angeline has been missing since 2011. She's 5'2". Okay, so it was 2011 when she was missing, so she was still pretty young in 2011, since that was 14 years ago. I think she's like, what, 28 around, give or take? 28? So she's actually way older than I thought. Okay, she looks like a teenager, but apparently she's almost 30, if not 30.
Another factor.
Oh, wait, I didn't finish reading this. Whoops. I got too caught up in like getting that age down.
But that's only on the surface.
She's 5'2" and 150 pounds. Okay. She sometimes changes her hair color. Angeline has friends and associates in different areas of British Columbia. Reward is $5,000 for any information that leads investigators to Pete's location.
As there was another.
And this paper was made in 2013.
factor at play here, as when the police stopped this couple from fighting on that fateful night, Robert wasn't the only one facing jail time.
Why?
Angeline was no stranger to abuse. She had a long history of it herself, with her ex-boyfriend claiming to have suffered.
I probably got 40 black eyes over those years. Once she had 5 or 6 drinks, she had no control. Angelina's ex-boyfriend, so she's saying she's abusive.
Stranger to abuse. She had a long history of it herself, with her ex-boyfriend claiming to have suffered dozens of black eyes throughout their relationship, which had ended years prior. This violent behavior often stemmed from her trouble with alcohol, and Robert was clearly one and the same, with the two forming an extremely toxic relationship that often ended in one or both of them getting hurt. It was all too normalized for the pair, which was highlighted by one of Angeline's final texts, where she wrote, "Gee, my lip hurts. I hate him so much that I love him." Now, I do want to make it clear that this is in no way meant to come across as victim blaming.
We need to go there. Just get on with it. We need to
This is
understand
vital
that.
information for this case,
Because it's not like we...
as Angeline's history with violence had landed her in prison numerous times.
Okay. I'm guessing just going to see if she did end up in prison for this, but she did not, so where is she, maybe?
Most recently in 2009, when she was arrested for getting into a massive bar fight. This arrest in particular is noteworthy, as it carried with it multiple conditions. One of which was that Angeline was given a 9 p.m. curfew, and the other was that she was not allowed to drink, with both of these conditions being broken on the night of May 20th, when police intervened in her and Robert's fight.
Okay, but she didn't get in trouble, though, for that. She just got to go scot-free.
This meant that Angeline was now likely going to be reincarcerated, and sure enough, that same night, officers arrived at her home to question her on the matter.
Ah, okay, so they did show up, and that's when they figured she was missing.
But she failed to answer the door, which led to a warrant being made for her arrest 5 days later on May 25th. That day, a squad car pulled up to Angeline's apartment to bring her into custody, but when police entered the home, they would only find Robert, who just so happened to be on the phone with her. And officers claimed to have spoken with Angeline during that phone call, where they advised her to turn herself in, though she claimed that she was no longer in the area, and eventually hung up the phone.
Okay, so we got even more context to this. Because you can't say he murdered her if she was literally on the phone, and she's already gone out of town, probably somewhere else. She was going to be in trouble, so she just split completely.
This would be the last time that officers would speak to Angeline Pete, and seemingly according to Robert, she returned home and left the very next day on the 26th.
Okay. So you're saying he did have time to kill her if he wanted to.
And never came back. This whole revelation muddies the water in this case, and provides us with our second theory, that Angeline Pete had run away to avoid reincarceration. But there's something unusual to me about this phone call with police. Now, there's hardly any information about this case online, but from all the articles that I've read, it seems that no one in Angeline's life had heard from her after this photo was taken, with the exception of Robert. And when police spoke with her, it was only over the phone. They too hadn't laid eyes on her since the night of May 20th, prompting some to wonder if Robert had arranged for some sort of decoy to make this phone call.
Sure, did cross my mind.
Though, however it happened, since that phone call, there has been no activity on any of Angeline's online accounts, and she has never deposited or spent a single cent from her bank account. From that point on, she's been essentially invisible.
So she did a lot of running away before, so you'd assume maybe she just knows how to be invisible, so she just got a new bank account. And started from scratch. Since if she ran away to the circus, I feel like she should know how to live off of nothing.
That was 15 years ago, and today we still have no concrete answers as to what happened to Angeline Pete, with some taking this as a sign that something sinister had in fact happened to her, as how can you go that long without leaving a trail, and without at least trying to come back? Especially in Angeline's case, as she was a mother.
Oof.
Angeline had a 7-year-old son who was by far the most important thing in her life. At the time she went missing, this child was staying with her father, Angeline's former partner, but she still played an incredibly active role in his life, and she wanted to be as involved as she possibly could be. And yet, after 15 years, she's made no attempts to try and reach out to him. Again, people have taken this as a sign that Angeline has perhaps been killed, and it isn't just Robert who they think might have done this, as some believe that she may have been killed by someone that neither they nor Angeline even knew.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
As I mentioned previously, Angeline had a
Okay, yeah, she, again, likes to just run off by herself. So she got killed by some random person, some random serial killer.
habit of hitchhiking, and she was known to do so in a way that was overtly dangerous. And interestingly, there were some unconfirmed sightings of Angeline after she went missing.
What do you mean by overtly dangerous? What does that mean, Crowley?
With some reportedly seeing her in Port Hardy and Grand Perrier, areas that she would have had to catch a ride to. Now again, these are totally unconfirmed sightings, but what's so chilling about this is that if she had been hitchhiking through those areas, then she likely would have found herself doing so along Highway 16, which is now known as the Highway of Tears. Without getting too deep into this stretch of road is notorious for its disproportionately high number of women who have gone missing on it.
Okay, so do we have a serial killer who's not been caught here? We got some sort of supernatural thing going on? What's going on?
And especially Indigenous women, with Aboriginal organizations claiming that as many as 40 Indigenous women have been killed or kidnapped while on this stretch of road. And coincidentally, Angeline was an Indigenous woman herself, who may have found herself hitchhiking on that very road. Angeline's disappearance is one of those cases that you can convince yourself that every theory is right. But as of right now, there's just no way to know what truly happened to her. And while this is an internet mystery for us, for Angeline's family, this couldn't be more real. Many of them are suspicious about Robert and believe that police didn't do a good enough job investigating him, as he was never even considered a suspect. But they also hold on hope that Angeline is still alive and out there somewhere, and they'll often hold events and vigils to keep her name in the spotlight, and to assure she knows that she can always come back home. And it's this hope that has fueled her son since she disappeared, as all throughout his childhood he played hockey as a way of helping to find her, with one family member saying, "That's why he wants to play hockey. So if he gets famous, his mom will find him."
If you have information on the whereabouts of Angeline, Eileen, Pete, please contact Crime Stoppers at this number. I think it's like 1-800-222-TIPS. Whatever TIPS translates to into numbers. Do phones even show you like what number corresponds to what letter anymore? Like, 'cause cell phones don't have keypads on them like old phones. I'm gonna look right now on my phone. Okay, they still do. They still have the numbers underneath, the letters underneath. Okay, you can tell how much I use my phone by the fact that I don't know that there's still letters underneath the numbers, which means I don't use my phone at all. We also have Serenity June here as well. There's the end of the video. So yeah, that one was pretty okay. So we have, what was it? Oh, the girl at the door, of course. And then the incident that I still don't think any bullets were fired for this story. This one, who knows? Again, just a runaway, trying to get away from bad people. Or, again, she could be the bait for people to break in. Who knows? This one was the mom. So the mystery is just like who was using the account for this and what actually happened to the brother for this one. Like the mystery, there wasn't too much mystery here. It was just like who was using this account, because they figured out who killed the mom. And this one, of course, is where did she go, which we may never find out, unfortunately. But yeah, we, like I said, are going to try Rotten Mango ? That's what she's called, right? Tomorrow. Let me check something. Yeah, I was like looking at the 3 videos that were suggested. So we have like the fairy one, the Halloween one, and the Death Mall one. So I mean, Death Mall sounds crazy. So maybe tomorrow will be Death Mall, just because that sounds really interesting. Yeah. So yeah, tomorrow we will be doing Rotten Mango, and then the day after that will be Void. We'll be back to the Wood. So guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, think about becoming a member, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So we're going to watch time and subscribers, and if we're thrown now as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew. Drew. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Do the do. See ya.